Before we start, I just want to let you know that this video is going to be really simple and straightforward with no editing because I just want to add some quotes from the book, and this is just to reinforce the idea of what I'm talking about. So for this, I will be taking this conceptual map that I made in class and expand upon it. I will be summarizing the story, and by the end, we're going to talk about some interpretations and about the title of this video as well. So the story is about Horace and Daisy Mary, his wife. Horace has a hobby of collecting Daisy dolls, and for him they are a spectacle, really. He even hires people to create stories around the dolls. But one day he has a vision, or an omen, a bad omen, really. And here is where we are given the first taste of the ambience and the main theme, which is Horace's mental state. The omen, his wife is about to die. His wife is not ill nor dying, but he thinks she is. And with this rational fear in mind, he orders a doll that resembles her. A doll made of kid skin that attempts to imitate Mary's face, makeup, and his perfume with her scents, which is really creepy if you ask me. But he dislikes Daisy because it feels like he's making a substitution. To make some updates to Daisy, Horace calls the manufacturer asking them to give Daisy human warmth, really. He starts to notice how he's looking forward to feel this new warmth, and he starts to wonder how he ever could have loved Mary before she had Daisy. So we start to follow Horace's mental state more clearly with that last thought. The turning point in all of this is when we um, have a new scene that is prepared for him, a carnival with the theme of two girls in love with the same man. With quotes like we see in the screen, we start to notice how Horace feels towards Daisy and how he tries to find ways to justify his new love. Right. One day, Mary came looking for Horace because something terrible has happened. Daisy with a knife stuck inside her. Horace called the manufacturer so they can repair the AC, and when talking with the owner, we know the truth and we see Horace's plans and dialogues with his friend here. So Daisy came back, and finally one morning, it happened. The day he was found out. Mary suspects already what is going on and takes a knife and stabs Daisy, trying to find the evidence she was expecting and finds it. He starts to cry, obviously, and feels horrible about the situation, so Mary left. After Horace noticed that Mary had found him, he did not care anymore about Daisy, and as for Mary, he was convinced she will come back eventually. There was no guilt, no remorse, he has no empathy, and we start to see Horace's downfall here. He wants more dolls and does not care about anything. After Mary left, he reads a note left by her, and this is the note. We get to see even more sides of Horace. He asks for arms and legs to experiment, asks for new dolls and replacing them whenever he can, taking dolls and sleeping with them in hotels. Things change completely with an adventure with a doll that is not even his, by the way, as seen here. And he regrets his behavior and confesses his feelings to Mary, like this second quote. Mary thought Horace's appointment in the dolls was final, and for a while they both acted as if happier times were back. But we see Horace's actual feelings in this first quote, and we see Horace tempted and eventually falls, like this second. So he gets new dolls twice a week until it is discovered again by his wife. He becomes soulless really from here on, and without any purpose left on him, our story ends when he goes out for a walk but does not return. Now let's talk about some ambience first because the ambience is defined as the character of a place or the quality it seems to have. In this case, the ambience is represented with noise or machine or factory noises, as seen in these quotes. And this is repeated throughout the story. It is mentioned to demonstrate Hart's mental state and his downfall. In a moment when he is apart from his usual self and routines, it is mentioned to emphasize his mental state and to demonstrate that the noise is part of him, as mentioned in this third quote. For the time aspect, the mundane and his routines change with Daisy in his life. Every time he feels Daisy near him, every time he sees the scenes prepared for him, we see how his view change from disdain to love and desire, like the passages we saw previously. And eventually, love is removed from the equation and is just lust and desire, something that can satisfy his urges really. And for the space aspect, this represents Horace's mental state. Things and places blend with his fantasy. One example is his own house, where from the very beginning it is described as not his house or home, but the black house, a space that is supposed to be his, like personal space. Is described as black or green, it's a representation of his mind, right? Also, the hotel, the only other space where the story takes place and where he later spends his nights with these dolls, are described in a way that literally reflects him. Like this quote, for example, it explains that it was a brothel, a sign, a reminder for both Horace and us readers for his current actions, and the way that the mirrors are explicitly there is to represent his mental state, for him to stop and look at himself and reflect on what he's doing, but he never does. Now, let's talk about some interpretations because Daisy and all the Daisy dolls represent the obvious, right? The cheating. But also, that is in our notes, right? But also, they can represent a feeling, a urge, an impulse of not cheating specifically, but of whatever desire we have deeply within ourselves, like addictions, for example. It represents kind of the worst parts of ourselves or things we have buried within. Also, in the story, we see Horace downfall as mentioned, and he wants to have more and more and experiment really. All of these quotes that we saw before, and also this one, can also mean a desire for murder or mutilation, but that is another interpretation. But the main point is that the feeling was there from the very beginning. And now for the ending, just to finish here, the story ends with the same way it starts, alluding that this is a cycle, or rather than a cycle, it's something that we can't escape from completely. And that happened in the story previously, actually. The story begins telling us how the noise of the machines, meaning this urge that Horace feels, has always been present, but is about to be seen. And it ends telling us how he goes to the noise, making himself one with it, possible possibly to embrace his urge or to represent that the feeling is still there and is about to be seen again. A cycle repeating itself, but aimed at us, readers, to ask ourselves, does all of this actually happen or is it in Horace's head? Are we Horace? And if so, what is our Daisy doll?